were just around the bed and she said a quick prayer. And that's when my body was like, all right, you have to push. Like it was just pushing on its own at that time. And I was like, oh, I feel a big contraction coming. And I pushed and he was out.
Oh, oh my gosh. You know what? Prayer is better than Pitocin, right?
Yep.
There you go. Hi, Dina. Thank you so much for joining us. I cannot wait to hear about your birth story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So before we dive in, I just want to know what made you interested in natural childbirth in the first place?
My husband and I have always been into like health and nutrition and things like that. And we follow a lot of holistic doctors and nutritionists on social media. And we came across your content through them. That really opened up my eyes to a natural pregnancy before I even got pregnant. So I didn't know many people who went the natural route, and I was really uneducated on that. So that's when your course came in. So it was really helpful, and it made me want to have a natural birth. And I always have a lot of questions on my mind, and I would just search it. And literally, like, you had an article about every single thing that I just had a question about.
I try to have every subject covered. No, kidding.
Yeah, so I loved it.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, good.
So it made me want to do the natural route for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. We need those people, because I remember when I was pregnant, it was like watching The Business of Being Born. It was like, oh my gosh. And then it just opened my eyes. I mean, I think we all have that moment where we just become awake to all this and we're like, wow. And it can be a different way. And, you know, if you don't have that around you, none of my high school friends gave birth naturally. My mother didn't. So you're kind of feeling like, oh my gosh, is this doable? But it absolutely is. And knowledge is power. So yes, Dina is one of our Mama Natural Birth Course graduates. How did you prepare physically throughout your pregnancy for birth?
So I did walk a lot. I swam, got some sunlight. I also ate really good. I was really strict on my diet. I prioritized protein, which I thought, I think that was a huge thing for me. It really helped me throughout my pregnancy. So yeah, I think the nutrition was a big thing for me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have any swelling. I think it's because of the protein. I actually didn't even end up tearing, so no stitches were needed. And I give credit to the protein that I.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because with my first pregnancy, I didn't eat as much protein, even though my midwife told me to. I just was like, well, I'm just going to follow up my crate, like what I think I should have. And I probably ate not enough, to be honest, because I did have a little swelling at like 6 weeks or 6 weeks before my birth. And I did tear. With my second pregnancy, I was like craving protein. I was eating 100 grams at least. Yeah. And no tears, no swelling. So it supports our blood volume, all of the fluid increases. It's really, and of course, our energy levels and baby and everything. So what were some of your favorite sources of protein?
I really liked drinking bone broth every morning. People like, I have to have my cup of coffee in the morning. For me, it was, I have to have my bone broth in the morning.
Awesome.
So literally every day, I think there was only 1 or 2 days where I didn't drink bone broth, but throughout my entire pregnancy, it was bone broth every morning with collagen. Awesome. I really liked having eggs. So I would have 2 to 3 eggs in the morning. And then as a snack, it would be cottage cheese with berries. I loved it.
Yum. That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
So how did you train your brain? So you mentioned that, people around you maybe weren't into this. How did you get your mind right for birth?
Well, your affirmation cards. And I did a lot of meditation. I would listen to Christian music and pray a lot. I would also read a lot of positive birth stories on the Mama Natural Facebook community. That was a huge thing for me to have that and just to read that and see, people went through this and I can do it. So whenever I would just have a negative thought or, oh my God, can I really do this? I would just talk to my husband about it. I'd be like, I'm having this thought. Can I really do it? What if this happens? What if that happens? And he was just really good with calming me down and just shifting my mind to focus on the positive. So it was huge for me to have his support as well.
That's huge. That really did he watch the class with you?
I made him watch it.
Awesome. That always helps.
He wanted to too. He's like, yeah, I'll
watch
awesome. It with you. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you had opportunities in your pregnancy where you almost had like a fork in a road where you could go into the negative thinking and you chose, you had to redirect. And I feel like that happens a lot even during labor, where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going through a transition, or how can I get through this? Or how can I handle this next contraction? But if you can redirect your mind and say, okay, I'm just going to take it this moment at a time and just focus on the positive, that can really help.
Yeah. And I didn't think ahead. I just thought in the moment, like, okay, we're here right now. Let's just focus here. I didn't think about, oh my God, what's going to happen when I start pushing or this. I just stayed focused on the moment.
how about the spiritual component? It sounds like you prayed and you know,
listened to Christian music. That was a big thing for me. Even on the car ride to the hospital, my contractions were intense and my husband was just blasting Christian music.
Nice. It's so like, peaceful.
Yes.
How did you actually know, okay, this is a real deal?
I actually went into labor at 38 weeks pregnant. And I was pretty surprised because I thought, you know, first time mom, I'm going to go over 40. So I was sleeping on Thursday night and I woke up to like a gush or like a leak. And I was like, oh, do I need to go to the bathroom? So I went to the restroom and went back to sleep. I was like, okay, maybe I just uncontrollably peed myself. I don't know.
Yeah. It's known to happen.
Yeah. So it wasn't that much. That's why. And then I went back to bed and then I woke up at midnight to another gush. And I was like, okay, there's no way I'm peeing uncontrollably. Like this is my water leaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I called the midwives and they were like, you know, just get plenty of rest. You have 24 hours to deliver. And I didn't have any contractions. It was just my water gushing at that time.
Gotcha.
I just had to go back to sleep and relax because I knew the big day was coming.
That's good counsel. Did you feel any pressure? Like, okay, now I'm on the clock because my water is breaking, you know, has ruptured.
Kind of like in the morning, if I knew contractions didn't start, because they talked about inducing, and, you know, after 24 hours, I was like, okay, I need to get things going.
Yes. Yeah. And so then did you get up and walk? Usually if we start moving. I
did curb walking. I went outside on a walk with my husband. I sat on the birthing ball. I took a shower. So
share the story though, that you originally were with an OBGYN and tell us what happened and how that all.
The OB that I have actually is about 40 minutes away. And I chose him because I was going to him before I got pregnant and I liked him because he was more functional, really. So he was open to a lot of natural things. And I really liked him. My whole pregnancy, it was smooth. He was great. He still is great. But at 36 weeks, when I had my check-in with them, they just said, oh, your fluids are a little bit low. We're going to monitor you closely. He said, eat a watermelon and then come back the next day. We'll check him again. And they just told me if it keeps going low, we're going to have to induce you. And then another thing was all of a sudden, my baby's abdominal circumference was measuring lower than expected. That was another scare. So it was both at the same time, like, oh, your fluids, and also the abdominal circumference is really low. And so they had talked about inducing because they just talked about so many things that could be wrong. I just had a feeling like, I was like, there's no way. Like I did everything. I thought I did everything right. I prioritized my protein and I ate really good and I was strict. And I just had a feeling like this is, I wasn't convinced. I was like, there's no way something is actually wrong. So I talked to my husband about it, and there's a birth center within the hospital that I was originally going to. So I was like, let me just reach out to that birth center. And I called the midwives and I told them, you know, I'm low risk. I thought I was, but I'd like to get a second opinion. And they had me come in and I actually saw them at 37 weeks, my appointment. And they did an ultrasound. They're like, everything looks great. So it was just a mismeasurement. But again, like I knew that.
That's that mama's intuition. That's awesome.
I was definitely scared, but I'm just glad I didn't let that stop me. So I was like, you have to get a second.
Something didn't feel right. And you're like, I just need it. So good for you.
Yeah.
I had a situation recently where I got my blood back, like my blood results. I'm like, these numbers look really off. And anyway, long story short, I ended up getting them redone and they're like back to what they normally are. So, I mean, it does happen. It does happen where things are misread or the measurements off. And okay. So your fluid levels were okay. Your baby's abdominal size was wonderful. And now you're with this midwifery group. Good for you. That took a lot of courage.
Yeah.
So
I transferred at 37 weeks officially. And then I had an appointment with them when I turned 38 weeks. And then that morning I called them. I was like, well, my water is leaking. They're like, don't even come in for your appointment. Just come in when you're ready. I was like,
oh my gosh. That is, so you saw them once before you went, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But I felt so calm and peaceful when I went in and sat at their office and I was like, I like this. And my husband's like, are you sure you want to transfer? I was like, yes, we're doing it. Yeah.
You're like, these are my people. I can just tell they get it. It's just like, I remember the first time I went to my midwife's office. I think I smelled like incense or something. I'm like, okay, I'm good. This is where I need to be. So All good. Okay, cool. So you started leaking.
Mhm.
You're like, okay, this is happening. They're like, don't even bother coming to your appointment.
Yeah.
How did you cope in that early labor? What were some tools that you used?
Yeah. So I went back to sleep. I tried to get as much rest as possible. And then around 4, 5 a.m., I started feeling contractions. They weren't so bad and it wasn't so consistent. So I just sat on the birthing ball and my husband was reading your affirmation cards to me and I was just
Aw.
repeating them and again, listening to music. I took a shower. The shower instantly relieved all my pain. So I was just there for a while.
Yes, the
And then I had my
showers.
doula. I was texting her, which was really helpful having a doula, especially for your first time. So she was really helpful. And she just told me when to go and, when to stay a little longer.
That's the biggest. If I didn't have my doula, I would have been there like at 1 centimeter. I
Yeah.
mean, seriously. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they give you a really good sense.
Mhm.
Okay. This is a good time.
Yeah.
Okay. So then things kind of picked up, I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
And then around 4, we got to the hospital at around 4:30 because my contractions were getting intense and they checked me and I was 5 centimeters dilated. I was like, okay, we're halfway there. Like I was hoping I would be a little, a little farther, but it was fine. And then they put me on the bed and they put the fetal monitor on to just check the baby's heart rate and everything seemed good, but I was strapped to that bed for about an hour. My contractions were getting really, really strong. And I was just looking at my husband and I'm like, I really need to get up. I can't sit here. If I sit here, I'm going to ask for the epidural. Yes. So he went and got the nurse. I was like, can I please just get, detach this monitor from me? Let me just walk around. Can I get in the shower? There was a shower in the birthing suite. She's like, yeah. And she went to ask the midwife and the midwife's like, yeah, of course. So I got out and I went into the shower and again, no pain in the shower. Like it was unbelievable. I was talking through contractions with my husband, my doula, and the midwife had the birth plan in her hand. She was reading my birth plan. We were going through it. And I was just standing in the shower, stretching, and I'm just talking to her.
Great.
And
so
then,
awesome.
And then after maybe about an hour or so, she was like, let's check you again. I was like, honestly, my contractions aren't so bad. Are you sure? I was like, I'm going to be so discouraged if I'm only 7 centimeters or 6. She checked me. She's like, wow, the baby's really low. She's like, you're 9 centimeters dilated. Like he's right there. I was like, oh my gosh. She's like, let's get you back in the shower. You were doing so good. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I went back into the shower for about 20 more minutes or so. And then I felt the urge to, push. And my doula was like, all right, let's get you back to bed. So I went back to bed around 7:30 p.m. and I started pushing. And that was the intense part for me, was pushing. I was pushing for a really long time, trying all different types of positions. Like my doula would be like, oh, maybe try on your side. Didn't work. I would grab on my husband and squat. Didn't work. I even got on my hands and knees and I was like, this is the worst position for me, which shocked me. I thought I would deliver on my hands and knees, but it was just so uncomfortable. I actually ended up on my back and I delivered on my back.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There are many women that do. I mean, so it's not, anatomically speaking, it's not the most ideal, but for some moms, it feels the best. And that's with the mystery of how baby's positioned and how your body is and all. There's such a complex algorithm there. And then how long do you think you ended up pushing before?
For about 4 hours.
4 hours. Oh my gosh, that sounds like me.
Yeah. So it was intense. I thought it would be the opposite for me. I thought I would have a harder time going through the contractions and I would just push and he'd be out, but no. Yes. It's the complete opposite. Like the contractions, thankfully, weren't so bad. But once it got to pushing, I was pushing from 7:30 and he was born at 11:11 p.m.
Okay.
So it was about 4 hours. Yeah. But like the midwives and nurses were just amazing. Like they're so calm and patient. And I was pushing for 4 hours and they're just standing there like, take your time.
Was there anything you did that made it shift up into gear or something like that? Because I know I also was pushing 4 hours. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then finally my midwife's like, okay, we have to give you a little hit of PIT or something, or like breast stimulation, something. Because my uterus was just getting so exhausted and my contractions weren't that effective. Was there something you did that?
Yeah, that's where my doula came in. She really helped. She told me try to do breast stimulation, but that didn't work. And then I was just getting so tired after pushing for 2.5, 3 hours now So my husband was feeding me pineapple on one end, and she was having me sip on some apple juice on the other end. She's like, you need to get your energy up. And I was like, I can't push anymore. Like, I'm exhausted. I was like, there's no way. And then the midwife was like, Dina, I don't want to give you anything. He's right there. Like, his head was out, but I just didn't have the energy in me to push. And then I would push, and I'd feel him come out. And then I'm like, oh my God, I need to breathe. So when I breathe, I would feel him go back in. I was like, oh my God, this is so discouraging. I looked at my doula. I was like, he went back in, didn't he? She's like, it's okay. With every push, he's coming out.
Yeah.
But that was intense. And the ring of fire, I felt it a few times. So that scared me to even push more.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Wow. It sounds like it was.
Yeah, it was intense. And then towards the end, my midwife was like, I really don't want to do anything. His head is literally right there, but you're really tired. How about we try Pitocin? And I just looked at my husband. I was like, yes, let's just do it. I'm really tired. So they were getting ready to administer it. The nurse was putting it in and things like that. And then the midwife was like, let's just say a quick prayer. I was like, yeah, that would be great. So we're just around the bed, and she said a quick prayer. And that's when my body was like, all right, you have to push. Like, it was just pushing on its own at that time. And then I was like, oh, I feel a big contraction coming. And I pushed, and he was out.
Oh, that is so awesome. Oh my gosh. You know what? Prayer is better than Pitocin, right? Yeah. There you go. Oh my gosh. I love that. And how sweet that your midwife would pray with you.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that is phenomenal. Yeah, it sounds like that was like that turning point. Cause I remember in my birth, this nurse was like, Genevieve, you need to focus. You need to do like, you are so close. Let's do it. You know, she kind of just like rattled me a little bit and like brought me back to reality, like what I really wanted to do. And like, let's just finish it out. Yeah. But I think you bring up such a good point that we get so fatigued, we get so delirious, and we don't see the forest from the trees because we're just, and I do think that nutrition, you know, getting a little sugar in the system does help. It really can help give you that energy. Oh my gosh, I love that. A prayer, and then he was born. Oh my gosh, prayer over Pitocin.
Yeah. I thought in my mind, like, oh, the Pitocin got administered and that's what brought him out so quick. And she's like, no, she's like, we didn't even administer it. I was like,
that's so awesome. That's so cool. Okay, so tell me, when you had little John in your arms, how did that feel?
It was amazing. I mean, I was just in shock. It took me a minute to just register, like, what just happened? But it was an amazing feeling. They actually let my husband catch him and give him to me. So it was just all of that was just such a magical moment. It was great. Yeah.
I know your face from your picture. Oh my gosh. You and your husband is so sweet. Your husband just looks like he's like the happiest father ever. Yeah, oh my gosh. Oh, that's so sweet. So how long was your labor from start to finish?
Well, my water started leaking at 10 p.m. on Thursday. And then I had him Friday at 11:11. Okay. But contractions started around 4 or 5 a.m. So I would say around 24, 25 hours.
Okay. Yeah. But I consider your labor starting when you got that first contraction.
Yeah. Because that's around 5 a.m.
So that's not bad. Not too bad. Now, did you do red raspberry leaf tea and dates?
Yeah. I drank red raspberry leaf tea about a cup or two starting the third trimester. Okay. And then at 35 or 36 weeks, I ate the 6 dates a day.
Nice. Which do you like really dates?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Now, what advice would you give to any mamas out there who want to go, you know, this unmedicated route? They're nervous. They don't know what they're walking into. What would you share with them?
I would just say surround yourself with positivity, like whether it's reading positive birth stories or, you know, surrounding yourself with just positive people. Because then you would tell people, oh, you want to go the natural route. Then, you know, they would say a comment or two like, oh, just get the epidural. You don't want to go through that pain. So just, you know, surrounding yourself with people, positive birth stories, positive thoughts. Don't think ahead, stay in the moment, and trust your gut feeling. Honestly, all those. Yeah.
How would you say that childbirth changed you? And, you know, even motherhood has changed you, even just 1 month in.
Now that I did this, I can do anything.
Amen, girl. Amen.
It was just, it's so powerful. Like, it just changes you. Like, oh, now I can, if I went through this, I can go through anything. So.
Amen. That's why it's so awesome. Yeah. So awesome. Oh, well, thank you so much, Dina, for sharing your story. This is going to help so many mamas. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Enjoy your baby, John.
Yes. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Take care, honey. Okay. Bye. Thanks so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and ring that bell. Also, head on over to mamanatural.com/updates and sign up for my free pregnancy week-by-week series. Each week, you'll see what's up with baby, what's up with mama, and learn how to have your best, most natural pregnancy. Finally, check out the Mama Natural Birth Course. You've been told that childbirth is scary and something completely out of your control. But I'm here to tell you something different. You can rock your childbirth. And midwife Maura Winkler and I will teach you how. And join the thousands of women just like you who have joined my birth course and have had triumphant natural childbirths. Learn more at mamanaturalbirth.com.